Alright, he's back. Probably the most gifted one, definitely one of the most gifted athletically and mentally athletes we've had on the show.
Naturally talented.
And we're only saying it feels like yesterday you were on, but now I think it was like 2 studios ago. It wasn't in the studio, it was
Quite some time.
a bedroom at Piedmont.
See, I was actually watching Dom all day yesterday at work.
I was getting hyped again.
What, from the office?
Fitness First tellies, man. You're all over
Oh
it.
yeah, dude, it's so funny seeing you on TV.
Who's your
Whatever
manager?
client I'm
Do you have a
with.
manager?
No, I just do it all independently through my social media.
Well, you
But
do
no
a good
manager
job.
has a chance at getting in with you because you get yourself on everything and anything.
Yeah, I'm pretty opportunistic with like if someone approaches me or if someone's interested, I'll pursue it and make sure that I get the most out of
Yeah,
it.
because Red Bull TV, is that what you have in your gym?
No, so Fitness First, you're on Fitness First magazine this week. I believe because there's some sort of partnering you did with a headphone company.
Yeah, they just so it was mainly for the magazine.
Sorry. No, you're right there. It's just
It was mainly for the magazine. Like we did just a shoot and a simple workout routine, which is like one of the guys saw my Instagram was like, oh, imagine the workout you have to do to be fit enough to do that sort of thing. So I just took through a basic strength and conditioning and mobility program, took some photos of it, and then the Bose thing was just associated like, oh, can you put these headphones in to
Just
flip?
happened to
Yeah,
be.
easy.
It's interesting because for a guy who I guess people would look at and consider to be very functional, you have one of the most boring workouts I've ever seen given out. But I mean that in it, it's like totally actually applicable for
Yeah.
once. You know what I mean? Everyone's trying to do all these crazy workouts, and here's Dom does the craziest shit. But then when it comes to workout, it's like let's keep it nice. Simple
What
and
was
safe.
it?
It's like a broad jump, tuck jumps, squats, but and then also like a deep squat, so that you can get like full range of motion with the flexibility in the lower posterior chain, and then like push-ups, pull-ups. Like that's what I do.
Just simple stuff.
Yeah, that's all I do to kind of maintain. Like I wasn't really conditioning much over the last like 2018 until the end of last year, and then I started doing literally just push-ups, pull-ups, V-snaps every day.
V snaps,
Which is where you're laying on in a
like
position, and then
yes,
V-sits,
yeah. Nice.
and like
You do it every day, you said?
yeah, just a little bit every day. Like when I first, because I fractured my foot
Yeah.
doing a big front flip, then I was kind of trapped, not moving around. So I just started doing like on the first 40 days where I couldn't really walk around. I did as much as I could on one day, and then 100 of each on the next day, and as much as I could on the third day, and then the next day I did 100 again.
I think. See, I do jumps. I do a lot of jump training myself,
Yeah.
and I'll really pay attention to how I'm feeling the next day. Like my knees might be a bit fatigued. I've had a toe injury. Like hips might be a bit fatigued. How do you take that fatigue from the high level of jumping you do day in, day out? Is it something you pay attention to, or do you think your body adapts to it?
I'm getting a lot better at paying attention to it now, but originally it was more the excitement of being there and like the opportunity to take, jumps and stuff like that. Like I would just keep training, and then I would overtrain and be forced to take like numerous amounts of days off, like 4 days of like,
I'm drinking your water.
that's alright.
I was wondering that. I thought you were trying to
Sure,
slip
we
Dom
can
or
share,
something.
we can
over
share.
the guest.
I got mine.
So I bring you on my show and I drink your water.
I'll get you glass.
Power play.
Sorry, keep going.
No, you're right. I lost my train of thought.
We were talking about training, right?
Yeah.
Oh no, it was like
every day.
deloading before.
Yeah, deloading,
shooting or
and so
something.
now I'm able to kind of like towards the end of the day, because I've done more training, I get less excited. There's still like that gratification that comes with it, but I'm just less excited to. I'm like, I can take the rest of the afternoon off, and I'm not going to feel like I missed out on anything.
Do you feel like now that you're less excited, you're more consistent at these events? Pressure's there.
I mean, I think that just comes down to having so many fails over the past few years. Like when I started pushing the scale really hard, I had a lot of like big fails. Not so many big injuries, but just big fails, which for me was like, okay, if you do the due diligence in the steps beforehand, that won't happen. Most of those things were because I was like, I can do that. Didn't really think about it, hit it, and then I was like, oh, now I'm injured. So it's more of like a well thought out process, which just calming down really helps with.
Yeah.
And so let's list the injuries.
Well, since I last saw you,
Yeah, that's because
I think when you last saw us, it was when you did the
fall in
ran
China.
up the wall and then you smashed your toe into the ground.
Okay. So did I do China before that?
Up on Oxford Street.
Yeah.
You had the fall down.
But you
the
got
steps,
wrecked.
which
Yeah,
is
that was
crazy.
before. Okay, cool. So after that, then I left overseas, and I like my wrists were pretty much full strength, and I had like bouts with just lower back pain from overtraining, so my glutes and my hips would get really tight, and then my hip flexors wouldn't activate, so I'd be like stuck in like
jarring your
suboidal
lumbar,
position.
yeah.
Yeah. And that's really bad when you're doing like plyometric stuff. If your core doesn't activate,
Oh, yeah.
you're just loading the wrong
Especially
stuff.
what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's like it's no just like box jumps, depth jumps, all that sort of.
Yeah, you're
It's
like
so much
inverting
next
your
level.
back and then
Well,
tucking
how
it
many
and then
people
taking
fuck
it
their
back.
backs coming down from box jumps and then jumping back
so
down
many.
from the things you are?
Yeah, it's a lot of load, and then like I had a few small minor like heel bruises and stuff like that, but I was getting safer and safer, and then I went to Jaws, the big front flip. It's like a 25 stairs, the biggest jump that's been done on a skateboard,
Oh, I know exactly.
and I
the one.
front flipped it and I fractured my foot.
Oh, but I suppose for you, because you land and then you tumble, sort of take
Yeah.
that impact. You did it right. It's
Yeah,
not
so
like
I-
you fell off the skateboard and you missed the
No,
jump.
like I definitely completed the challenge. It's still this really weird grey area for me personally, where I'm like, I did it, and I know that if I went back and did it, it would be fine, because what actually happened was a shoe malfunction. It wasn't like I had a bad
Like
landing
a
accident.
Zion Williamson style blowout.
Yeah.
Yeah, so-
Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
So it's basically
Hard.
he's this 18-year-old genetic freak, and he's so powerful. He like cut on the basketball court and blew through his shoe. So similar thing. You're probably applying the
Yeah.
same amount of force through your.
Yeah, well, what happened with this one is because I didn't do my shoelaces up. Like the looseness on my
You would
ankles
think that
felt
that's
really
like
nice.
parkour 101. Do your shoelaces
Well,
up.
they were done up, but like really loose, like they are now. Just like the minimal amount of knot that you can
Okay.
possibly have in the in the shoe,
Yeah.
and then the rest is kind of just free. But what happened then is it kicked off my like heel about an
Oh
inch,
yeah.
and then I was on this side, and then it came down on the side. So the moment that my feet hit, there was that moment where my heels were still raised, and it pushed out, and the inside of the heel touched the ground, and so I like bent my foot over the side of my sole of my shoe.
Sounds not painful at all.
Well, yeah, coming out of 25 stories, it was horrendous. I was like, that was heavy. Rolled, took one step on the right, fine. Took one step on the left, and was like, oh, it feels like a tile is broken, like on the ground. Took another step and was like, that's not a tile. Boom. Oh, I'm down, and then yeah, just holding my foot. Had to get Jason to carry me back up like the 25 stairs, and then another 25 stairs.
And then what? Straight to hospital.
Straight to hospital,
What
yeah.
country were you in?
I was in France, so like,
Okay, cool.
and
So
I was
good,
in.
good.
Yeah.
And do you get insurance when you travel?
I don't even bother.
So how did you pay? Like,
Well,
do you pay out of your own pocket or?
Yeah,
what's the
usually,
go?
usually I just pay out of my own pocket. We were with Team Farang on that
Yes.
shoot, and we were doing that as a Team Farang shoot as well. So they covered Jason and Team Farang covered cab, hotel for the night, and
Hospital?
the hospital
Okay.
fees. But there wasn't
Good
that
blokes.
many in France. Like they brought me in, signed all my stuff, gave me crutches and a boot, and then sent me on my way. Didn't send a bill or anything.
Yeah, I don't think there's a whole heap. Oh, they really?
Yeah, I don't think we paid anything for medical.
Fuck, awesome. Shout out to France.
Yeah,
You
I'm
can't even
relatively
Australia.
certain
Yeah.
that we paid nothing for everything.
How good is that? So
Yeah.
France is a good place to go and do some extreme sport.
Yeah, if you fall over
Isn't
in
that
France,
the
you have to-
birthplace of parkour? Maybe they just have
Mhm,
a
they knew.
hospital system.
They were
that
just
can
like,
do
yeah,
it.
this guy was definitely doing parkour, so we're gonna.
No more parkour.
Yeah, I saw the state of the shoe. I noticed now you're wearing some Vans.
Yeah, these are actually the shoes I did that front flip in.
They look like a weird hybrid. I've never seen the
These are the
squishy,
Ultra
sole.
Range.
Mate, have you
So they're
reached
like a
out to be
sport.
sponsored?
No, because Team Farang, my team just bought out a line of shoes. I just already ran through them as well. So I'm wearing some old ones and to like repair them. I'm literally gonna go home and glue them together.
God
Because
damn.
I fell in the harbour with them and went
Oh,
on to like
that sort
really,
of-
and they were prototypes. Because
Ah.
my size, we only made one prototype and then we got 46 down.
What do they look like? Where's my phone? Oh, you got a photo?
Yeah.
Because on the YouTube, what I'm going to do, I'll get you to text me a photo or tag us in it, because then I'm going to put the photo here. So if you're watching on YouTube, there should be a photo of these shoes popping up to give us an idea. And also, before that, I'm going to try and edit a photo of any of those Jaws steps, or maybe even you doing it.
Yeah.
Picture in picture.
Yeah, so this is the Farang shoe. It's just
Oh, it's pretty
simple,
cool.
sleek design.
Nice and
Oh,
clean.
yeah.
Because we have done, like, the people that design have done parkour for the last 12 years, we put a lot of innovation into the sole, so making sure that it's cushiony but not too thick, because if it's thick it gets in the way and, like, can really inhibit, like, where your ankle stability is. So
Yeah.
if you, like, jump and you, like, essentially on high heels and a hard surface, you're just going to rock off.
Yeah.
And the other thing that is like kicking through, so the front's got double reinforce,
Nice.
like cut lining. I don't know. I'm not that specific on the design side of things, but it's really hard for you to kick through the toes.
Yeah, because I
we
suppose
put
also
extra-
to a degree you're using your foot as a claw when you're landing, because sometimes you're landing on things that aren't more than 2 foot spaces wide, so you're sort of clawing down. There you go, you've even got a hole in your current
You
shoe.
can see that on the video there. Like the
That's
whole
where you
ball
claw.
of my foot and the toe is where it gets punched out, because that's where you put the pressure to step through the walls, and when you catch
Yeah.
as well, like that flexion there. And then also just when you land on any wall, you're trying to land on the thickest part of your foot there. So the fact that this has like the front of my foot shows that I got good tech this month.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's a month. You've had that shoe for a month.
I've had these shoes for about 6, but I've only trained in it for a month.
God damn.
I did the big front flip and then I didn't train in them, and then I got new shoes and then I ran through those, so I just started these like a
Pulling
week
it
ago.
out. Is it just one of those things where, like, yeah, you could use an army boot and it would stay intact, but it's obviously not practical for what
Yeah,
you're
it's,
doing?
it's almost like the same as saying like you could wear a helmet and do parkour, because you save your head, but the amount of
like
obstruction and
Yeah.
restriction with you to be able to like move your head around freely, tuck your head in as best you can, like that's kind of the main thing about parkour, is that you don't need anything else and you're learning to use just your body in its most attuned state. So like you don't need shin guards because you don't hit your shins on walls. You learn how to land. You don't need like ankle braces because you learn flexibility and mobility. So when you do these landings, you're not compressing and you're not over hyperflexing, you know, that sort of thing. So it's just like, yeah, the less equipment that you need for parkour, the more it's like advantageous to you in the real
Yeah.
world as well.
Is there one bit of equipment where you're like, that would be the best bit of equipment if you think you'd take on anything, or is it just like a good pair of shoes?
Yeah, just a good pair of shoes. Like, and I'm not even that fastidious with what pair of shoes I wear. Like, I'm really happy Ferrang's bought our shoes, because now I have a staple shoe that I'm really comfortable with, that I can like promote and be a part of, as opposed
Yeah.
to just my normal footwear. But like when it comes to shoes over the last 10 years of training, I don't have a favorite. I don't have like a pick. It's just I like good shoes. If
Whatever
they're good,
you
they
got.
work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes I like thin-soled shoes. Sometimes I like thick-soled shoes, depending on what style of training I'm doing. So it's really about, as long as they're grippy and durable. Those are probably the two main standout things that need to happen for a parkour shoe.
And I suppose you grew up ice skating, like we spoke about in depth on our first podcast with you. So you're used to sort of anything really. I imagine nothing is more uncomfortable than
And a
that.
leather boot, yeah. Yeah. I guess I got like weirdly shaped feet from ice skating. Like just like you get contorted into these boots that are very rigid, and they don't make a huge assortment of styles and different ranges for different feet. It's like, no, this is a boot. Get in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So one of the things we used to do is we used to put them in the oven for like an hour when we first got them, and soften up the leather and there's like the
Okay.
padding on the inside, and then you push in and you walk around in them without the blades on.
Yeah.
And that makes them more aligned with your feet, more controlled, so it's less painful.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because I ice skated for the first time in Boston only a few months ago, and obviously we just had run of the mill,
Yeah.
and mine were quite loose. But I was like, I guess I have somewhat sort of an athletic approach to everything, and I knew to sort of keep my ankles strong, keep the skates straight up. Whereas people were skating around and their foot was like fully inverted,
Yeah.
and I was like, "How's your foot?" And
Well,
they're just like traipsing along. I'm like,
here's an
"Jesus."
interesting like fun fact from when I was 5. So I was doing speed skating first before I was doing figure skating, and that's the one where you have like just a shoe with a really long blade. You don't have the ankle, like the boot offering you ankle support.
Were you trying to be Australia's next Bradbury?
Yeah, well, I trained with Stephen Bradbury during this time.
Yeah, heck
yeah,
yeah.
because like his father was working at the rink. He now owns the Acacia Ridge Ice Rink where I used to skate, and Stephen and I went to New Zealand together. But I was 6 and he was 15.
It was
16.
small
Yeah.
set.
Yeah. So like when we were doing that, his coach Ann Zangs, Steve Bradbury's coach, was like shocked that I was like under 5 and could stand with my ankles straight. Most kids at that age were inverting or extroverting before they were like taught to kind of stand straight on their ankles, but my ankles were just genetically fine to strong.
Yeah.
Like my stabilizer stuff was strong from day.
And
So
it's
that's
definitely
like-
mental as well, wouldn't you say?
Oh, I think at that age
At least
it's more
having
just,
an awareness that
I-
it's important. I
Well,
think.
yeah, I had no idea about it. My mum told me this story like a year ago. But what it is, I think, was that I had genetically stronger ankles and lower chain, regardless of like mentality or anything like that, which is why I've been able to probably stay more durable in the long run for this sort of stuff.
Yeah, the durability is, it's got to be genetic.
Yeah.
Because I always know myself, there's no way I could do what you're doing, even at 50%.
I think
just couldn't
the
do
mental
it.
aspect of it is also genetic, because there's another story I heard from my father, which is he's had 150 stitches in his head over his life, and that's from 3 trips to the hospital, 50 stitches each, and every trip was because he fell out of the same mango tree trying to get mangoes 3 years in a row. And I told that friend
pretty
my
funny.
story, and I was like, haha, my dad's an idiot. And he goes, so you're telling me if you fell out of that tree, you wouldn't climb back up to get mangoes? Damn it!
Yeah, you
Damn
would
it, it's
have to
genetics.
overcome
Like,
it.
yeah, so for me, that's like a good example of like where people are like, you don't learn the lesson after you
Just get
fail.
back
I'm
on
like,
the
well,
horse.
no, I just still want to do that thing. I want to eat the mango. Like,
And did you hit your old man up and be like, "Oi, did you finally get back in the mango tree successfully?"
yeah, and like I think he said like 3 years after that,
Okay,
he
good.
was able to climb up. But
So
his
there's a
dad was
success
always
story.
just like, don't climb the tree. He's like, well, I'm gonna do it. And then 3 years in a row, fell out and split his head. But he kept doing it.
There's also something to be said where, like, Oscar, if you think something's going to fuck you up, it's
That's a
got a
good
higher
point.
likelihood
Yeah.
of fucking you up.
That's true.
Yeah.
And I suppose that would be huge with. And I think that's why I was never really good at skateboarding as a kid, because I was like, you just have to accept you're gonna fall at some stage.
And you're gonna hit your shins and your toes.
Yeah.
You're gonna get the board's gonna hit you.
Bloody
That's like one of the
days, yeah.
things, like, because I feel like skateboarding's like, until you get to a higher level, one of those minor like ding ding shin ow ow, and it's a lot more like minor subtle pains. Like if you miss a wall in parkour, you open your shin, you have to go to hospital to get stitches usually.
Yeah.
Like if you're new to it, you know what I mean? Like the consequences are higher earlier.
Oh, those shin grades.
Yeah, oh mate, shins are just something else.
Hey, this is
Do you feel like-
badly boxed when you were doing boxing.
Oh
so,
yeah, my
yeah.
shins are rough. Got chunks missing. all
That'll
over the
send you in the
place.
shop.
Mm.
That
Do
shin
you,
grade.
do you feel like you've mentally willed yourself into injuries before, like before the attempt? There's something going on in the back of your mind, or are you
Not-
genuinely surprised when you get hurt?
Me generally surprised, and me generally more regular than other people, because my issue isn't so much not having the confidence or letting fear get in the way, it's just hocking up. Like I just make errors, and I'm more confident to try stuff that I haven't tried and push my scale faster than most people. Like one thing I realized from traveling was that was kind of one of the strengths for me in parkour and free running, why I've been able to excel in the sport as far as like a worldwide athlete, is because my mentality towards trying shit isn't fear-based. It usually, like, it's very hard for me to have adrenaline or let fear kind of be prevalent when I'm doing these things. I just have a good way of psyching myself up, and I think that's just the years of training of ice skating, went to sports psychology when I was younger, that sort of thing. But yeah, that kind of bravery or like just like knowing that I can do it without dying, like there's
Yeah.
no chance of a colossal fuck up, you know, like a fractured foot is the least to pay if you're going to be front flipping down 25 stairs. That's like, if that's the maximum injury you're getting from something like that, pretty intense to,
Yeah.
to know that you can do stuff like,
Yes.
you know, your body is capable of doing those things. So yeah, it's just about, like, I know a lot of people who are very, very physically capable, but they can't do jumps at height because it just absolutely scares them to the point where their legs are shaking. So you can't do a jump when your legs are shaking.
And I suppose
You also can't enjoy it. Like, it's probably a big factor in the enjoyment
Yeah.
of the sport for you is you rock up, and at the biggest attempts, because that's something I've been trying to change about my weightlifting lately, is every time I go for a PR attempt, I'm not particularly nervous, but I find it, like, you know, quite stressful. There's a lot of pressure, but like that's the whole reason you do the sport
Is
for.
the
and
challenge.
you don't even get to enjoy the main point of it
Yeah.
for a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe even for you, like you get into a big gift race final, and like that's everything you
Yeah,
trained
that's
to
true.
do. Then you're so stressed out by the thing you can't actually be present and like
That's
in that
very
moment.
good.
Yeah, it's a very hard thing to kind of mentally attune yourself to those like finite moments.
Yeah. And I suppose as you're getting older as well, and you get these injuries, and then you know that it's not going to sort of ruin you. You come back and you've still got the skill, the technique. You're
Yeah.
learning more of what to do.
I
when
had a
you're
lot
injured
of
as
fear
well.
that that was going to happen because this foot was the longest I've ever had to take off training. I'll
How
send
long
you,
was it?
It was 3 months, so it's not really
Okay,
that
not
long.
too
Like
bad.
I was talking to some of the guys, the other Red Bull athletes that are like, you know, 12 years of skiing, and they're like, yeah, I tore my ACL 4 times, 6 months off every time at least. And I was like, okay, I should not worry about my 2.5, 3 months. Like,
Yeah.
it's not that bad.
I feel like
But-
being strapped into boots would just mince your ACL.
Yeah.
Like so the first month, when I went to France, they told me like, oh, it's not broken. So I was like, cool. It's just I just got to put a boot on. It was like severe bruising. I'll send that to you now, and you can see on the screen. It's like some of the most horrific bruising I've ever experienced. Like my whole foot up to my shin, and then on my right leg there's a little bit of bruising as well. So it was really hard to walk around. And then at the end of the 4 weeks, I took the boot off, started walking around very slowly on the foot, just trying to strengthen it up. I could feel
Yeah.
like it was at that time where keeping it immobile was just going to do more damage, just cause more atrophy. So I started walking around, and because there was no break, like no fracture at that point, I just would try and ease back up into training. And I got to the point where I did a backflip. And then I went to an MRI scan because my physio, when I got back to Australia, I did a backflip and I had to go to an MRI scan. And the guy was like, yeah, you fractured your foot. Like, your foot's still fractured. And I was like, oh, cool, I've been trained.
That's why I felt like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's why there's like, because what happened was I was like, it improved and then it just stopped and it just stayed plateaued for like 2 weeks at the end of my trip and when I came home. And I was like, oh, but I'm doing stuff for it, why isn't it getting better? It's because it still had a fracture in it. So I had to immobilize it for another 2 weeks, which was like 8 weeks total. But then by the end of that, I was able to start light training on it. And the only advice I got from the specialist was, if there's pain, stop. Like when I had my wrist injuries, it was the opposite. It's like you have to push through that little bit of pain so that your pain receptors because your body's kind of trained to just stay in this range. But with the foot, he's like, any pain, you can't push through that because it's just going to cause more damage. And so I was really like adamant about doing stuff but doing it with no pain. So I could land straight away, weirdly, because the ankle flexion had no problem. It was powering through the foot where the issue came. So there was about 2 or 3 weeks where I was just doing what I call bitch moves and just like just doing really, really small parkour that you wouldn't even almost wouldn't classify as parkour. And then it just ramped up and then suddenly after like 2 weeks it clicked and then suddenly it was boom, everything came back. And I was so scared of losing, like, this is what we were talking about earlier, like losing all that, because I had the best training period of the year just before that. That's why I felt so confident to do the big front flip. It was like, I'm in like the best form I've been in ever. And I was worried about losing that and losing all the technique and the little pieces that I've been like gathering over the year. But I think because I was so focused on not losing them and so focused on just getting back to health, even that 3 weeks period where I had to train more technical and more soft stuff, that helped me etch back in. So when I came to the big stuff, it was just safe again and the confidence just came back. Yeah. I feel like I didn't really lose a beat.
Yeah.
It was crazy. Yeah.
I suppose and we've spoken about this with heaps of guys on the show before, how big of an impact mental rehearsal plays, especially in the big moments. Like, because then you sort of think and you imagine the feeling, you imagine the nerves or whatever you get, and then you just put it into practice.
Yeah, well, I was caught up 2 nights ago thinking about this disgusting thing that I want to do in England. Like, it just kept me up, just started thinking about it, and then suddenly my mind was erased.
Is it running around Stonehenge or something?
No, it's so there's BFI IMAX, which is like the big blue wall spot in England.
Okay.
And I'll send you a clip of the Capri, which is like it's a really well-known jump. It was done back in 2013. Now only still like 10 people have done the jump, but I want to go there and do it with a front flip. So like Kong over the wall,
yeah,
and then flip in the middle and then land on the wall. And it's huge, the scale of it.
So I've seen you do that move a few times.
Yeah.
Is that the one where you've done only recently between 2 quite high buildings?
No, that's just a diving front flip. So
yes,
the diving
yes,
front
I
flips,
know.
yeah. So the diving front flips, they're a lot easier for me to gauge because you just need a wide open landing space to pull it off. But with this one here, you're like doing a big jump and then landing on a thin wall. So this was like one of my bigger achievements from last year.
Oh yeah.
So imagine doing that but with a front flip in the middle. And that is keeping me up at night because that is like the
Because
pinnacle.
guys have done it.
No one's done that.
Oh, no one's done
fucking.
it.
No one's fucking with that shit. That's
So-
like
so people
the
have done what
incredible
you
amount
just
of
did.
danger. People have done what I just did.
And how high is it?
Um,
Oh yeah,
Like-
yeah. Wow.
yeah. If
You'll do some damage.
someone fell down the gap recently and was okay, just a little bit of heel injury, like he undershot the distance and then bounced back down
Yeah.
the hole, and he was
That'd be the
okay.
worst.
But like, it's still not something you want to do.
No.
And like with that one, so that was my first attempt and only attempt so far, and no one has ever stayed on the wall like that. Like the goal would be to do that and stick it. And I like stayed on the wall, my foot slid forwards, and I did a front flip, which was way more than someone's hit with that. And I was like, this Capri doesn't seem that hard. And so I went back like multiple times after with friends just walking past the spot and was like, I think I can Kong front pre this, which will sound absolutely absurd to most of you, like it's a foreign language, but you're basically hitting the top wall, doing a front flip on the way down, so hitting the top wall with your hands, jumping from behind it, and then doing a front flip in the air, looking for the wall that you're going to come down and land on, and then landing on top of that wall out of a rotation and a diving height. So
it's
it's like,
still like absorbing the impact.
absorbing the impact,
balance.
making sure you don't over rotate, under rotate, make sure you gauge the distance properly with the flip in the air. So there's so many factors that make it so incredibly dangerous that like at night I'm just staying up thinking about this aspect, like I'm just mentally rehearsing, and that's why I feel like I'm going to be able to do it this year, is because I've just, that's like the 10th night I've had just kept up about thinking about that move.
Is this your El Capitan?
Yeah.
I saw that movie last weekend. It was
I've got it. Where'd you see it?
It was at Norton Street Cinemas. I don't think they're showing it everywhere.
I
Have
guess.
you seen it? Do you know that guy?
Yeah,
Alex, whatever his
Yeah, I
name is.
don't know him personally, but like,
You're
yeah,
aware
know
of
of it
it,
and
yeah.
stuff like that. Yeah.
Have you seen the film?
No, I haven't actually seen
I
it.
feel like there's aspects of it you would find quite relatable.
Free Solo, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I watched Joe Rogan's podcast on
That was
with
sick.
Alex,
Alex,
and
yeah.
I also did a few like YouTube videos and that sort of thing.
He has dicks for fingers.
His
Yeah,
fingers are
they're just-
huge, man.
Yeah.
They're sausages. Yeah, how do you train for that?
So
Like
it's
a
about
particular move.
so with this kind of one, it's about doing replicas. So you want to do like in a gym or in like a different location. For me, it's about doing enough similar replicas. You don't have to do the exact same thing. You don't have to set it up because that's why you're doing it there. Is because it's there and it's set up like that. You just go and do like the same move but in different locations a lot. Like a lot, to the point where it's down to an art. Like you can't miss your feet on the wall. You've got the drop thing down. Like there's so many aspects of it that you just have to train throughout your training in different parts of the year to make sure that you're ready to hit it. The big front flips now, they're pretty much second nature. Like you can take me up to a roof gap. There's one I posted the other day, like diving over 9 stories. It took me 3 minutes. Like I got there, looked at the roof gap, went, all right, I feel the dive front, can you record? Cool. Walked back twice and then did the front flip. Like those,
It's just easy.
because they're calculated and dialed to a certain art. It's like, okay, I know I'm gonna dive, tuck, front, then roll. Like that 100% can do. So I can pretty much take that move anywhere and hit it. But then there's like this sort of move where it's that little bit more technical and less rehearsed. Like I said, no one's really doing that scale of this sort of thing, like flip precisions over gaps with walls. There's like very few of us doing that. It's a very, very difficult skill. And I think it's just about rehearsing it mentally and confidence during doing it. Like not freaking out halfway in the air, like, oh, I'm upside down over like 4 stories. Oh.
How do you have time to think even to freak out? It's like if you're committed to do
But
it.
it slows down, like with sprinting, I'm sure you feel like
Yeah.
time slowed down when you do that. Like when you start weightlifting as well, trying to break down the pull is quite tough.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure even a front flip can feel pretty slow. Once
Yeah,
you've done
I definitely know that there's like a more heightened awareness when doing especially dangerous stuff. Like I feel that everything's calculated, everything hits timing. Like funnily enough, when I do more dangerous stuff, I seem to do it better because just there's so much more going on and like the focus is so much higher, so you don't mess up. You know what I mean? Even if you do mess up, it's in a very controlled way. Like I clipped my leg very slightly doing this front, but it was like brushed my thigh.
Yeah,
know
but
what I
you
mean?
feel it. You're like
Yeah,
hyper
in the
aware.
air, you're like, shit, I just clipped my leg, but
Yeah.
control it. Like, it's all
Yeah.
about just staying calm, especially with the bigger movements in parkour. Like, you really just want to have a solid, calm mentality while you're doing it. If you go in, you're like, then more likely you're going to have an accident.
I
Like
saw
you said,
someone
willing
get
yourself to
mad at
fall.
you for claiming that you clipped your foot in
Yeah,
the comments section. What is
Oh, mate,
what's the community like? Oh, that guy
that's
probably
not
doesn't
community.
do
That's the
hardcore.
issue with
Random
being
internet man.
being a little bit more prolific online now is that most of my
Everyone
audience
has it.
is
Fake,
so-
you can see the ropes attached to it here and
yeah,
here.
and everyone's like, oh, one slip and you could die, and you're like, yeah, but you could also walk across the road and die. Like,
It's like, fuck, man. Give me a break. Like,